Uganda, often called the Pearl of Africa, the population has over 50 million people in Uganda, with the size being a little smaller than Oregon. 50% of this population is under the age of 15. I surrendered to missions back in 2002. In 2010, I moved to Soroti, Uganda. I have had ups and downs in Uganda, and I like to say living in Uganda is never boring. So most of you know of my life in Uganda, but let me go back to the year of 2022. Around September, my left thumb started to hurt really bad. I went to many doctors, both in Uganda and the United States, and they all said it must be a bacteria, it must be a amoeba. They really did not have the answers. So I kept wondering, what would the Lord have me to do? So my doctors in the States said, Carrie, why don't you go back to Uganda, and the doctors there will be able to figure out what is causing this pain in your left thumb. Well, May of 2023, I was still in pain with my left thumb. And the doctors of Uganda said, Carrie, we have done all we could. You have to go back to the States. There's nothing else we can do. So that's what I did. With a lot of answered prayers, I was able to fly back with my brother's team who came to Uganda to serve for about 2 weeks. When I reached back to the U.S., I went to many doctors and they were able to diagnose me with lupus, SLE. So I went through many more tests and much counsel on what to do, and the Lord led me to ask my doctors if I could go back to Uganda for a 3-month trial and then to come back to the States and to see how my body reacts to life in Uganda. So September of 2023, this is what I did. I went to Uganda and I came back in December so the doctors could test my blood and the many numbers which is there for lupus. And they all were great. My blood tests were great. Everything with lupus was great. So the plan was to return to Uganda. So in January of 2024, I returned to Uganda and my life there. I was the principal of our Christian school, and I would wake up around 5:30 every morning and do all the duties of a principal in Uganda and come home around 5 p.m. that night. I started losing sleep, and I was only getting 45 minutes of sleep. And things got very, very difficult in 2024. So by July, by the advice of the other missionaries on our sorority team and my doctors in the States and my pastor from my sending church, they all advised me to come back to the States and get more testing. So October of 2024, my doctors had told me that if I wanted to survive, I could no longer live in Uganda. This was very difficult news. 2 days after hearing this news, I get a call from BIMI, who asked me to see if I would be willing to pray about the opportunity of coming to the home office and serving at BIMI's home office after I came back off the field in May of 2025. I really had a bad attitude, and I said, sure. So I prayed about it and asked the Lord what to do on when I returned back to the States. Where should I go? Where should I serve Him? I still wanted to be in missions. And I was really praying hard, and I really wanted Him to answer me. But to tell you the truth, I wanted Him to answer my way. Well, the Lord let me know that BIMI would be the next step to serve Him in the home office as the Connect Secretary for the BIMI home office. So I went back to Uganda January 17th, 2025, and I turned over 2 ministries, one being our elementary Bible class, and then also sign language. Now, Ugandan nationals are doing these ministries. We have a Ugandan national as our head teacher, which is the principal of our Christian school, and many of the areas that I was serving the Lord in Soroti, Uganda, now are being filled by Ugandans who have been saved through our church, discipled by one of the missionaries on our team there in Soroti. It's amazing to see how over the years God has been faithful to all of us and to SOAP, Sorority Orphans Assistance Project. It was very hard to go back in 2025 to sell and to give all my things away so I would be able to move back to the States. But the Lord gave me strength, and the Lord gave me grace and mercy during that time. So the doctors were right. May of 2025, 9 hours before I was to fly back to the States, I ended up in the Ugandan emergency room. I was dehydrated and was in a lot of pain. The Lord allowed me to be able to fly that night, and I did arrive back in the States safe and sound, but I was in pain. So my doctors, when I reached to the States, sent me to the ER, and I was supposed to start infusions for my lupus when I returned from the mission field. But at this point, the Lord has really helped me with my lupus and helped me with my body. And my doctors today say that my body is healing itself. And I just say a big hallelujah. So in June of 2025, I came to BIMI for what was called Enrichment Week. And that is when I met Rick Anderson, a missionary from Peru, who has also transitioned to the BIMI home office. It is amazing to be on this journey with someone who knows exactly what I have been through transitioning from the mission field to back to the home office. All I can say is God is faithful, and He is always with us. In Hebrews chapter 13, verses 5 and 6, He always says that He will never leave us nor forsake us, so that we may boldly say, "The Lord is my helper." And truly, the Lord has been my helper.